welcome back to my channel. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Jessica, and today I'm going to be talking about how to treat food-induced swim bladder issues. And what I mean by that, and the example that I'm going to be using, is I have a Ranchu fry in here that has been recovering from a overfeeding situation. It's my fault. So I just want to tell you how I have treated him, and then at the end we will put him back into the main tank because he is all good to roll now after the treatment and rest that I have implied with him. So I will also go over doing an Epsom salt bath, and I'll go ahead and put the fry in it for you to kind of see firsthand. So stay tuned and let's do it. Epsom salt baths for all of my fish is I take this bowl, and I said to myself before I started this video, I'm like, I don't know how much water this bowl holds. I'm kind of more of a chef with medicating fish than I am a baker, and by that I mean I kind of wing it a little bit. I wing the measurements, so I'm in it to learn. So here's what I do. So I decided that I was going to find out how much water this bowl held in this video for you guys. So let's find out. This is a gallon of water, and we're going to pour it in here and see how much it holds. Okay, so it holds just about a gallon. So that's good because the measurement I've been using to treat this fry in his 30-minute salt dips is 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt. So 1 gallon, 1 tablespoon. It's a gallon. So I put the salt in there, and then I let it marinate. I stir it up. So the Epsom salt has now dissolved into the gallon of water, and I am going to go ahead and show you what I've been doing to transition him into his bath. When I initially found this Ranchu on his side, I was doing the salt baths 3 times a day. Right now, in the last 3 days, I have tapered it down to once a day because he has improved so drastically that he's pretty much back to normal. His energy is almost back. He's very responsive when I come in the room now, and he kind of jets around. So I really wouldn't probably do this bath right now if I wasn't demoing it for you. So he's good to roll, and I transitioned off the baths 3 times a day as he improved, and then I was doing them less and less, and now this will be his last one. So I just take him out of his little tote, and I put him into the temperature-matched Epsom salt bath. Sometimes it takes him a minute to orient himself. So if they do that, just give him a minute and don't be startled, and they should typically, so he's righted himself and he's fine. So I don't know if you could see that, but he kind of flipped over, and then now he's righted himself and he's fine. So initially they can be a little bit shocked. I would only suggest moving them out of that immediately if they didn't adjust within, the first 15 or 20 seconds. So that's a normal behavior for me. When I put them in a salt bath, that occasionally they will, I'm gonna touch on really quick while he's in this salt bath is how we got into this position in the first place. Grooming goldfish is something that, it's a dance. It's a dance with overfeeding and underfeeding. So I tend to, with my fry, this is only my first time doing this, I gut load them. I feed them a lot, and I kind of watch their behavior, and I revise my routine, or I up the food, or I fast them for a day. It depends on their behavior. So when I found him in the tank with his siblings on his side, I pretty much knew immediately I had overfed the goldfish. And it's hard when you're feeding a group of fish, adults or goldfish fry. It's hard to know exactly who's getting what. So it might not be that I necessarily overfed them as a group, but that this one was just a little bit more aggressive with his share, and in turn he had some pressure on his swim bladder and was constipated, and he needed to be removed from the tank to digest on his own for a while. So that's just something that I've seen happen. I haven't lost any fish to it. I'm just trying to give these fish everything that they need to grow as well as possible, but on the same hand, that comes with the risk of issues like these. So I just, this doesn't just happen with fry. My adult goldfish that I did get most of them as juvenile goldfish, I was immediately feeding them more than what they were getting at the fish store, and I've had to do the same thing with them when I've noticed that they are laying at the bottom a little bit too long, or something like that. So I have had to give them an Epsom salt bath, or I have these little baskets that I could float in their main tanks just so that I can separate them during a feeding if one just seems like it's stuffed and it needs a 24-hour fast. I use this bowl all the time. In fact, most of you know, I don't think you can see her. Piper's in here. She's my ping pong pearl scale. She's like the size of a softball almost. A lot of times with her, I will float her in this bowl in the 75-gallon while I feed the other ones. In fact, I think I posted a video on that on my Instagram account. But I do it all the time with the fry too, still. So I will float them if one is obviously overeaten. I will seclude it in a bowl or in a basket and feed everyone else. And if I'm feeding it at all, I will let it out when there are scraps left. If I'm fasting it, I wait until all of the food is gone before I release it. Or I simply let it be in the basket for 24 hours and let it out when it can eat normal with the others. So this video is kind of just generally on more than just healing this fry, but about overfeeding and why it has happened to me and what to do when it happens. And there's you have a lot of control over it, and there's just no recipe for how to feed a goldfish. You kind of just have to watch them for their behavior and learn from them as individuals, and just kind of modify what you're doing. So, and that's what I do. I've had Piper for over a year, and I watch her behavior on a daily basis, and sometimes I put her up in the bowl and she doesn't eat for the day, just because the repercussion for overfeeding Piper is she will lay on the bottom of the tank, and she will then develop a pressure ulcer, which is like a red mark on her tummy from bottom sitting. So I kind of am able to now head that behavior off and prevent it, if you will. So anyway, so this guy's just finishing up his bath here. The other thing that I did to aid him in his recovery is I put him in this shallow tote, and initially when he was on his side, I filled this just enough to cover his body, so about 1 inch. And I have gradually, as he's gotten better, filled it up to the top to make sure that he can control his buoyancy as the water level goes up, to check his readiness to go back to the main tank. And then I've added just this air stone in here just because I don't need to filter this since I'm changing the water in it every day. So, and then lastly, when he was laying on his side, I did fast him for the first 48 hours. I did not feed him any food at all. And then he eventually righted himself, and after 48 hours, he came up off his side, and he was able to be, you know, in the position that a fish should be able to balance at. And then at that point, I gave him half of a half of a steamed pea, and then I made sure that that passed through. And then I have started to feed him little tiny bits, like one live black worm, you know, a half of a steamed pea. And I've just kind of gotten his, because I want him to grow still. I don't want his growth to stunt as a fry while I'm remedying his situation. But at the same time, I wanted to give his swim bladder time to heal, and the bodily pressure time to go back to normal and correct itself. So again, it's hard for me to make these kind of instructional videos because there truly are no instructions. It's just kind of a watch and act. So I have just kind of let him guide me in his recovery, and he's gotten better. So I don't think that he's having any kind of permanent swim bladder issue. Like, I won't hesitate to sell him later on in his, you know, young adulthood next year. I think as his body grows, being a very short-bodied, fancy Ranchu goldfish, as his body grows, this won't really be as big of an issue. They won't be as sensitive to overeating as they are when they're this small. So anyway, so I'm going to get him out of this bath, and I will show you that I'm going to put him in a floating basket back in his main tank for the first time in over a week. So anyway, I hope that you can kind of see through all this rambling, because I can't, it's hard for me to organize these videos. I'm not really good at it yet. I just want to give you as much information as I have myself, and in a clear manner, so that I hope that you're able to take from this and apply it to any kind of situation with swim bladder caused by overeating that may happen to you and your fish in the future. So thanks so much for watching and bearing with me as I kind of guide us all through this process, and thank you. So we actually had a change of plans. My husband and son just got home. It's about 9 o'clock, and we're going to go to the park and play Pokemon Go. So I'm probably going to leave this Ranchu in this white tote for another night. But when I get home, I will show you what I'm going to do with him when I return him to the tank, because there's one more step before I fully let him go in the tank. Because as you could see in the Epsom bath clip, his swim bladder is still decompressing, and he's regaining his buoyancy. So I'm going to show you him in his tote right here for the night, and then I will show you what situation he is going into when we get back from the park. I am going to be moving this fry into this floating basket. So he has some of his siblings in here in this 40-gallon breeder, and I'm not ready to re-release him into this depth of water. So I'm going to be putting him in this floating basket, and as you can see, I have another friend here who I put in here yesterday before I left for work. and he was having just kind of, he was bottom sitting, he was digesting, he wasn't having a buoyancy issue, he was just full. So I did put him in here, and he's totally active and good to roll. So I'm going to move the little guy out of his condo, and he's so cute. Re-release him with his siblings, and I'm going to take this guy, and this fish is so funny. He startles, and he actually faints with my ring light. It's so funny. Yesterday I tried to get a video of him eating the 2 black worms that I fed him, and days before I tried to get a video of him eating the quarter of a pea that I offered, and he faints. He turns over and goes belly up for like seconds and then goes back, and it's hilarious. So he has stage fright, and anyway, but he is ready to go back in. He's totally fine. I have left this light on for about 10 minutes to see if he would just kind of adjust to it before I started this video. So anyway, I'm going to put him in. So here he is. He's all balanced again. And he's going to go into this little ranchu condo until further notice. So I'll feed him in here separately, little bits at a time like I've been doing. And he's already looking for food. And then in a little bit I will, what day is this? It's Wednesday. So maybe by Saturday I will put him in with his friends.